Hello, I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and you are watching Tom Talks Rubbish. It's the place for interviews, wrestling reviews, and so much more.
Make sure you subscribe to Tom Talks Rubbish. I highly recommend you subscribe here first.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Talks Rubbish, and today I'm back with another interview. And today I am joined by another member of the Cultaholic crew, Mitch. So thank you for coming on, Mitch.
Thank you for having me, Tom. How are you, mate?
I'm good.
Good man. Good
man.
man.
It feels a bit weird because we just did all the pleasantries before we started recording. So I'm like, I don't know what to say because we just had this conversation.
It's the way of the world, isn't it? You have a little chat beforehand and then you start recording and then you feel like you've got to have the little chat all over again. It's very weird, isn't it?
I'll be honest, man, because of what you do for Cultaholic, and you do an amazing job at it, by the way.
Thank you.
I was surprised you agreed to do this.
Why were you surprised, Tom?
Because I wasn't sure, and if I'm wrong, you can punch me through the screen, how comfortable you were on camera.
No, that's understandable because, you and the other Cultaholic fans, you haven't seen that much of me. You know, I've done a couple of news videos here and there and the odd podcast, but I haven't done that much. So, no, you're right. I haven't done loads, but I'm quite comfortable being on screen. So it's not a problem for me.
Just so people that don't know, for people that don't know, sorry, stupid English. I told you, it's been a long day. What is it you do for Cultaholic?
Yeah, so my job is the editor-in-chief of Cultaholic.com. And that basically means I run the day-to-day output in terms of content that you see on the website. So all of the news articles, the features done by people like Jack and Justin and Lewis, the quizzes, which have proven very popular, all of those sort of things, they go through me and my team. So that's what I do on a day-to-day basis.
So is it just you, or do you have a separate team that you manage?
So there's a team of us that work on the website. Like I said, there's me. There's a fantastic news writer called Aidan, who a few Cultaholic fans will know.
Isn't Aidan Gibbons by any chance?
That's it.
Also known as the News Hound.
The News Hound, that's the boy. He's responsible for a lot of our daily news output, a fantastic writer. We have Jack Atkins, who also does news stuff for us and features, and another brilliant writer as well. And he also does some of the
Triple Jump?
Some of the lists for the YouTube channel as well. So he writes a few of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then a few of the other guys as well drip in with content. So Justin Henry does a lot for us. Jack does a feature on a weekly basis. And a couple of the other guys as well. Tom occasionally does stuff as well. So we've got a group of us.
Oh, that's cool. So basically, what is something that because a lot of people would say, like, I'm not saying this, oh, your job's easy. You just have to look for news and repeat what other people have said. What is something that someone may not understand about your side of Cultaholic?
I understand that part of it. You know, the recycling aspect. The hard bit the job in itself, it's constant for one thing, Tom. Do you know what I mean? It's you're always on the go, looking for things and looking to present that news in the appropriate way.
I know you do a lot for the website, but do you have a hand in putting the news together that comes out on screen?
Yes. But I wouldn't say that's like we all do that. So every morning there is a conversation between us all about the news and what is going to be the big headlines of the day.
So, as you say, going back to what we were saying about people not understanding, is it just the fact that it's constant?
I mean, that's a large aspect of it, and making sure you've got content going out all the time because we have. Our output's gone up quite a lot during my time with the team. Pardon me, talking far too quickly for my own good. There's the aspect of sub-editing the content as well. And that's not to say that it all needs sub-editing, but it's just doing our job effectively in terms of making sure there's no
For
errors.
those of us that are new to this content creating game, just to clarify, what does sub-editing mean?
So say, for example, Tom, you worked for me and wrote an article and it was going to go on the website. Part of my job would be to then check that article.
Oh, basically to read it back.
That's it. Make sure there's no spelling mistakes, grammatical errors. Make sure it's accurate in terms of like you're not saying anything that isn't true. So there's that element to the job as well. There's the whole analytical side of things, double checking what's working, what's not working. Why didn't an article we thought would work or do really well didn't do very well? Sometimes articles we think are just, I don't want to call them filler, but they're there and
Tough
they do
pieces.
Yeah, sometimes they do exceptionally well, and I'm left scratching my head as to why that happened. And a large part of the job is
I'm becoming familiar with that as my YouTube channel is growing. Like you watch a video and you're like, this is just a filler one because I can't think of content. And then it will do amazing. And then you're like, the series that I put out every week, it doesn't do as well. And it's like, and it's very strange. The internet is a strange beast.
Oh, it's a mad place. It's a mad place. Don't ever get lost on the internet.
Oh, rabbit holes. Don't do that.
Absolutely not.
So, as the editor-in-chief, my first question is, were you a wrestling fan before you became editor-in-chief?
Yes, I was. So, I've always been a wrestling fan, really, as long as I can sort of remember watching telly. I can remember watching the old Sky One used to do like short Raw and Smackdown roundups on Saturday morning.
How old are you, out of curiosity, dude?
I'm 28.
So you're around my age, because I'm 22.
Yeah.
So I remember exactly what you were talking about.
That's right.
They used to do like the truncated versions, didn't they? Which is only an hour?
Something like that. They were very manageable. You could watch them very quickly.
Can't do that with Raw nowadays, man.
But they were, that's kind of how, that was my Saturday morning viewing. Do you know what I mean? I wake up in the morning and get my bowl of cereal and I'd sit in front of the telly and watch that. And that's kind of where it came from.
The way that some kids would have cartoons on, you would have wrestling on, sort of thing.
Absolutely. Because I thought I was too grown up for the cartoons. I didn't
want them. What era are we talking about?
Probably I got into it when I was about 8 or 9, so we're probably just after the sort of Monday Night Wars, 2002, 2003. So
very underrated era, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's a sort of a weird era to look back on because there's still a lot going on, but a lot of hardcore wrestling fans and certainly people a couple of years older than myself would say the Attitude Era was certainly more wild. Do you know what I mean? And more.
I got into this debate last night, and I really wish I didn't.
Which is your favorite era?
Favorite is the wrong word, but I love, but also recognize how wrong it probably was Ruthless Aggression.
No, I agree.
If you go back, Ruthless Aggression, it's like almost being a prospector. You have to dig through a lot of dirt before you find the gold, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think they made a lot of good with what they had. You know, you think of the talent that wasn't there at that time. The Rock had left, Austin had left, Taker was injured, if I remember correctly. Hogan had left. You know, you're having to find new stuff. Angle was injured. Lesnar was leaving in 2004. You know, they had to work with a lot of constraints, and they did a very good job.
Was it before he came back as American? So my question is, if a big competition, I know TNA is, do you think the spark of wrestling would have stayed if, say, WCW would have hung on a couple more years, and now? Does that make sense?
Sorry, Tom, the call cut out a little bit there, mate. What was the question?
Hello? Sorry, my internet is poo.
No worries, mate.
Hello? My question was, do you think if competition had been a thing, the wrestling industry would have been more healthy?
God, what a big question,
Yeah.
Tom. Yeah, I heard you loud and clear, mate. I think it's I tell you what, I look at my time as a wrestling fan as kind of like certainly the era that I came into it, 2002, 2003, after the fact, you almost didn't realize that we were limited by what we were watching. Most of us only grew up watching WWE, and there was a little bit of TNA around the end of sort of the 2000s.
At that time, I'd say they had the monopoly, wouldn't you?
They did. And I grew up watching wrestling when it was a monopoly, and it was either, if this is it. So I don't think I can answer that, Tom, because it's a really tough question. It would have completely changed the way I look at it for sure.
Fair enough. But now that there is competition, are you enjoying wrestling a bit more than say you would? Or because it's your job, you can't enjoy it? That was a loaded question, and I apologize.
That is a loaded question. You're going to get me in trouble, Tom. I still enjoy wrestling. I wouldn't work in wrestling if I didn't enjoy it. And I'm very lucky because I've always had jobs that I enjoy. So I'm a very lucky person in that regard.
Like this. This is literally my job.
It's good fun, isn't it? It's a good way to make a living.
It's like, so do you think you would still... I'm trying to think of my original question now.
It was... Do I think am I enjoying the competition now? Is what you're asking.
Now that there is AEW and New Japan is more accessible and Impact is more thing, do you think wrestling's more enjoyable, or should it be a monopoly?
Oh no, it's definitely more enjoyable. More competition is better for everyone.
That was more what I was trying to say. I wasn't trying to get you in trouble. Or
no, absolutely. No, honestly, I'd be absolutely fine, mate. But no, I think it's much better now. It's much better now, particularly with the rumors that we've seen in the last couple of weeks with CM Punk and Daniel Bryan.
I was just going to ask you about that. As a news guy, what's your thoughts?
Oh, I want to see it. I want to see it.
So do I. How much... I don't want to swear because I don't really swear on my channel. How much poo is AEW going to be in if, say, this whole Punk thing has been blown out of proportion, do you think?
I think there'd be they'd see a level of fan outrage that they are certainly not used to. I mean, we've seen them get bad press and negativity for things like the
Hardy thing springs to mind immediately.
The Hardy thing immediately springs to mind. What was the Moxley Omega exploding death match?
And it just turned out that it was a load of sparklers.
Exactly. But I think this would be next level, particularly when they're heavily promoting shows in Chicago. Would
it be as bad as, say, I know you're not a WCW kid, but you know what I'm talking about, you're a wrestling fan. The finger poke of doom, do you think?
I think you wouldn't be far off. I think they're completely separate, but I think you wouldn't be far off.
You know what I mean, though, like a creative decision that,
I think, I think Tony Khan's a smart businessman, and I don't think he would be advertised. I don't think he would be hinting or allowed as many hints to go on his television show if there wasn't at least something going on.
Aiden, we're going to get called AEW Shields.
We're already called that. It's fine.
Yeah, I know, right? I get this all the time because the only show I review is AEW.
Is that
just because it's out of time and it's a lack of interest?
But that's it, Tom. And I think as we go back to what we were saying about competition earlier. Do you know what I mean? That's one of the. Go back 15 years. Everyone watched WWE because there was only WWE. Whereas now you've got, oh goodness me, there's WWE shows on 5 nights a week, not including pay-per-views. There's going to be free AEW shows. There's Impact.
There technically is free right now because you've got Dark Elevation and Dynamite.
That's it. And you've got Rampage.
Two of them are YouTube exclusive.
You've got Rampage starting in a couple of weeks. You've got.
I actually can't wait because I'm curious to see what Rampage. No.
Rampage.
Sorry, as I say, it's been a long day.
Impact as well, as you said earlier, New Japan. There's so much wrestling out there. How do you determine which ones you watch? And I'll tell you what, that's a big challenge for us.
I was just going to ask you that question. When choosing what to cover I take it because you guys are more of a business than I am, you have to look at analytics and what does well on the website or the YouTube channel.
Absolutely. And a large part of that, Tom, that I think a lot of people don't really think about, and it's something I've had to think about more and more, is, we're a UK-based company covering something that's almost exclusively in the USA. So these things...
I was just going to ask that.
Yeah, these things are happening at, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning our time. So what is the best way for us to cover them? It's a big question. And, if anyone has the answers, please hook me up on Twitter, because I could use them.
Please.
Yeah.
You can tell I'm a fan because I quote people. But were you a Cultaholic fan before you got the job there?
Yeah, I was aware of the lads and their work. I'd followed their content when they were at the What Culture before. I was aware that the lads had moved to and started their own venture at Cultaholic. So I watched probably not every. I didn't watch every news video. I didn't watch every week. I had my series that I enjoyed watching or listening to. The podcast, because
what were they? Out of personal curiosity,
I liked the podcast. And I still do, to be fair, just because I think it's a really good way of knowing everything that's going on in wrestling, without watching it all.
I love it because, without sounding disparaging or everything, I love the tangents they go on.
They are good fun as well. And then we still talk about those tangents afterwards.
Yeah, and sometimes you're like, how did we get here?
You should listen to when Tom and I me and Tom Campbell do a top 10 every month, and we go on tangents all the time.
I should find that. Where's that on Patreon?
Just on it. It's on the podcast feed on Acast. We do it once. A little plug here. We do it once a month at the end of the month. So
I was going to ask you to plug stuff at the end, but I know how YouTube analytics work.
That's my first plug.
Let's do that now.
Well, I'll start by plugging the Cultaholic Top 10 monthly podcast with Tom Campbell. I believe the next episode's coming out sort of middle of next week. So give it a look, because it's good. We have good fun on that.
So going into you doing some stuff on the podcast feed and stuff like that, is there a desire to do more on-camera stuff, podcast stuff for you, or are you happy with where you are?
Well, my job is editor-in-chief of Cultaholic.com. So that will always be my my primary responsibility, to make sure that .com is doing what it needs to do. The website is putting up content, and it's servicing that content in the best way.
I'm recording here, man. Sorry.
No, it's all right.
Sorry, I got distracted there. What happened? Sorry.
So I was just saying, my responsibility is to do, the website, and that's my primary job. When the opportunity comes up to do video and audio, if it fits into my day, then I'm more than happy to do it. But my responsibility is first and foremost to do what I'm paid to do, basically, which is the website.
No, I understand that. But when I had Adam on, I don't know if you saw that one.
I did. I watched it. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. What was I going to say? He spoke about how Cultaholic is more of a collaborative than a dictatorship. So if you went to Adam and said, look, I want to do more on camera stuff, would you ever make that leap or no?
I think if I went to Adam and asked to do more on camera stuff, we'd find a way to do it. I think, as Adam rightly says, everything's a collaboration and everything's a compromise. I think everyone wants to. I think in a way, because we all get on so well at Cultaholic, we all kind of want to do a bit of everything. And it's I have heard it's a very good place to work. We have a really good team of people, and that's not just in front of camera, that's behind the camera as well, and working on the website and working in editing, and just across the entire team. So I think we all just want to do what's best for the company. And maybe that sounds like a really sort of dodging the question answer, but I'll do what I'm asked to do. No. In some ways it does, but as I've learned more about running a company, I understand 100% what you're saying. If that makes any sense. No, it does. I think you understand, Tom. If I could, I might wake up not tomorrow, but I might wake up at the start of next week and say, I think I really want to be on camera today. And, that's probably not going to happen because we've already got our videos sorted or our rotors for that.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm sure Adam and the team would always be open to any ideas that anyone has, not just me.
Because this is what Adam said, like half the stuff, because of Adam's job title, I suppose, is that the right phrase? You'd think it'd be him saying, right, Aiden, you do this, Jack, you do this. But from what he was saying, it's people come into his office and say, Adam, can I do this?
Yeah, we all pitch ideas to Adam and we have conversations about them. And those ideas are molded to then be the best that they can be.
Sounds like a fun place to work, I'm not going to lie.
We have a good laugh. We do have a good laugh.
So going back to the website a little bit, do you feel like because you're not seen as much, I say seen because in this day and age, no one's really not seen, but because you're behind a wall almost, do you feel like you get the recognition for your work?
Yes. Short answer is yes, I do feel like I get the recognition because I think not that I'm searching for it, Tom, and I'm not saying you're suggesting I am, but
No, I'm just genuinely curious.
Yeah, so no, I think we as a team at Cultaholic are very good at positively and reinforcing everything to each other and complimenting each other and praising each other. But externally, and I think from Cultaholic viewers and listeners and watchers and Cultaholic fans, I think they're brilliant in terms of letting us know when they really like stuff we're doing and also telling us when there's stuff that they'd like to see that's different. And I think that's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. The one video I have seen you on is a news video with Sam. It was a Saturday morning from what I can gather.
That's right, yeah.
And too many people had been booked time off or someone had called in sick, etc. And from Sam's reaction, it was like, we weren't planning on doing it like this today, but we've had to make the best of it. How nerve-wracking was that?
I wasn't as nervous as you might have thought I was, to be honest.
No, you didn't come across nervous, but
No, it's. I mean, I was with a really good guy in Sam. Sam is such a good guy. Do you know what I mean? On screen and off screen, he's the loveliest bloke you'll ever meet.
He is someone that I'd love to have on here because from what I can gather, he wasn't originally supposed to be as much on camera as he is. It's just situations which we're not going to go into here arise that meant he had to. So I'd love to ask him questions about that.
Yeah, and I can't speak for Sam, but I'm sure he'd be willing to do it, Tom. He's like I said, he was the perfect person for me to work alongside for a video debut, and he made me feel so comfortable, and we had such a good time. It was impossible to feel uncomfortable.
I think that's how what started our sort of like contact, because I think I tweeted that video out.
I think you did. Like, you said something really nice, and I'm really struggling to remember what it was, but you were really kind, and thank you.
I was like, I think it was something along the lines of fair play to Mitch. As someone that has a small YouTube channel, I know how scary being chucked in at the deep end is.
I'm a big personally, Tom. I'm a big fan of being thrown in at the deep end. See if you can do it, and if you can't, you can't. But give it a go.
How many takes did that video take?
Oh, was it one take? One take wonder.
Oh, really?
One take wonder. Give me some credit, Tom. One take wonder.
Come on now. I have to ask this as a journalist. I say journalist. I've got no journalist experience ever.
Almost offended. I'm joking.
I'm only joking. So, So how did you actually... We've gone all over the place here, and I apologise for that.
No,
guys.
Talking about tangents. I love a tangent. It's good.
And I apologise for my mum walking in. There is a sign on the door, but yeah.
No worries.
It's a house, and I have to obey.
You do. I completely understand, mate. I completely get it.
So, where was I? What was the question? How did you actually how did you go from being a fan to... Oh, I now work for Cultaholic.
It's going to sound really boring, but they had a job and I applied for it, and it was as simple as I was ready to try something different in my personal career. It was something.
What job experience did you have before that? Job experience that much?
Yeah, so I've worked in sports media and sports reporting for about 10 years. And before I worked for Cultaholic, I worked in the media department of a Premier League football team, which was good fun, and I loved that.
Which one?
West Ham United.
Oh, go on, the boy. Are you a West Ham fan?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Go on, the boy.
Are you a West Ham fan?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Tom. Love that.
I can't do it because of my arms.
But I've been there for about 4 years, almost 4 years. And I was just ready. I was ready to just do something new, Tom. And it was a new opportunity to work in another industry that I like the look of. And yeah.
So similar to wrestling, I have a question about West Ham now. Well, it's more about football. But because you worked in football, did you find that you couldn't be as much of a fan, similar to wrestling?
Absolutely. Much more when it came to football, because I worked for a football. When you work for a football club you support, you have to find that weird. It was difficult to begin with, but you have to find that balance of being like, all right, I'm a fan, but I'm also paid to do a job here, and like I can't be as emotional perhaps as I was before, or as I would want to perhaps be if we've had a bad day or a result's not gone the way we'd want it to. And that's something you learn over time. But yeah, absolutely.
So going on to that, I often, like, the main reason I don't cover as much wrestling on this channel is because I don't want to lose wrestling being fun for me. Mm-hmm. So can you still watch wrestling for fun, or does your brain automatically switch into work mode if wrestling's on? Or
what a good question. I now associate wrestling with work. So I can watch
Fair enough.
I've got my favorite wrestling matches that I can go back and I can watch them for fun.
Can you be thinking on that? Because I'm going to ask you what they are after you finish that.
Absolutely. I can go back and watch matches that. Here's a good way of me of trying to think about it. I think wrestling before I started working in wrestling, I can go back and watch and consider as fun. I think anything that I watch now as live, I can enjoy it. I really enjoy it still, but there's that work element to it.
Yeah, I get what you mean. So it's almost like, trying to think of an analogy. It's almost like, say you love a TV show, but then you start writing for that TV show.
Absolutely.
You can watch the episodes that you were a fan of as a fan, but then the episodes after that you've written, you start critiquing and stuff like that.
And what's been really interesting for me, Tom, taking it back to the football slightly, and you're, as a West Ham fan, you'll understand a little bit of what I'm saying. I worked at West Ham at a time when the club did record signings. We signed Sebastian Aller, Felipe Anderson. Do you not mean?
You'll have to remind me what year that was.
Felipe Anderson was 20. Oh, that's a good question. 2017? No, 2018.
I'll be honest. I dropped off of football by then.
Okay, but sort of big money signings that I was privy to knowledge about before they happened. Before
they'd been confirmed.
Exactly.
And I suppose as a fan, you had the desire to almost tweet it out and tell everyone.
Well, not even that. It's more now I'm not working there. I'm actually quite enjoying not knowing. So the West Ham announced a signing earlier this week, and I was really sort of like, I knew nothing about that. That's really quite pleasant.
So what are some of your favorite wrestling matches then, and your favorite superstars?
My favorite.
That's the most generic question ever. I'm so
sorry. But I think it's a good one. I think one of my favorite superstar of all time is Shawn Michaels. Love the guy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And
1990s Shawn Michaels or 2000s to 2010 Shawn Michaels?
2000s Shawn Michaels. As good as 1990s was, that was my era, 2000s Shawn Michaels.
I'd agree with that because, again, we're around the same era. It's almost similar to what we were talking about. I can go back and appreciate his stuff in the 90s, but I have more of is emotional connection the right word?
Yeah, I think so.
With his 2000 stuff.
And I think what makes a match a favorite match for you is it depends on what you look for. So there'll be some fans that really, this is where I upset some people, and I apologize, but like, I'm not a fan that goes into it going like, I want to see a pure wrestling, match. Give me something that's going to pull at the heartstrings, make me feel something.
Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, for example.
Yeah, I'm looking for the entertainment and the emotion, and like,
I agree with that. Like I keep talking about myself, and I apologize.
No,
this is a habit I really need to get out of when I'm interviewing. But unless I know a story of a match, I can appreciate the work rate and stuff, but I won't be as connected with the match. Is that the same for you?
Absolutely. And I think that's where, do you remember there were a few very, very low, but there were a few criticisms of NXT a few years ago where it was like, yes, there's some really good matches, but why? Do you know what I mean?
Was this when they were on the network, or when
a little bit, I think, but there was certainly
when they just moved over, and it seemed like they were chucking everything against the wall.
Just bouncing from big match to big match a little bit, and it was like, okay, but give me a reason behind it. Like the stuff with Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. Oh my days! Just give me.
Can you imagine, Aiden? Not Aiden. Sorry, Mitch. Sorry, long day again. If NXT, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, peak era went up against AEW.
I think it would have been a close race. I think it would have been a close race.
It had been even closer than it was, in my opinion.
No, I agree.
Yeah. So going back to, what are some of your favourite matches then?
I suppose one of my favourite. I'm just going back through the list because I do have I've got a list in my head of matches I want to re-watch.
I've got my list written down because I don't have a very good memory.
And there's I always go back, and one of my favorites is I'll give you two straight off the bat, and they're 10 years apart at different WrestleManias. Hulk Hogan and The Rock at 18.
Don't tell me. And then The Rock and John Cena.
Oh, right year, wrong match.
Oh, I think I know what it is now. End of an era.
Yes.
Amazing.
And I'll tell you what, especially with that end of an era match, I went into that with the whole, because they'd done Triple H and Undertaker the year before, hadn't they?
Twice before, actually.
That's it. And particularly the year before, I was like, all right, it was good. I don't necessarily want to see it again. But then they came out and they put on this hour-long, it almost felt like a movie, just this epic. And I was spent, emotionally, physically, mentally. I was drained. It was so good. Especially
the moment where you think, oh, Shawn Michaels has called it down the middle. 2, bang, super kick, pedigree. I thought the streak was over. Did you watch that match live? Or
yeah,
were you?
I not in person, but I watched it on the telly live, and I was jumping up and down on my sofa.
Because I've had a couple of matches I've got to go back and rewatch from interviews that I've done today, funny enough. So that one's on my list because I haven't seen that in a while. And then Mankind versus Undertaker, Hell in a Cell. I've got to go rewatch.
Such a good match. If we're doing Hell in a Cells, Tom, can I recommend Shawn Michaels and Triple H from Bad Blood 2004?
I love that match.
Great match.
Everyone gives that match such a hard time because it's so long.
Yeah, I think it's such a good match.
I love it.
I think you can have long matches if you've paced them properly.
Yeah, so an example I'll give where they didn't was Mania 29.
Yeah.
Because you had, I don't know if I've said this in the right order. Comments, please do not gut me if I'm wrong. But Mania, you had Punk, Taker, Triple H, Brock.
Yeah.
And then Cena, Rock 2. And they were all an hour long.
Oh, really good matches in their own right, but absolutely drained afterwards.
Because I don't know if you've ever done this, but watch the show live, then a few days later, gone back and watched a match that maybe you didn't think was good in a vacuum.
You have to. You absolutely have to. I did that, Tom, with WrestleMania 32 because that felt like it went on forever. And then you had Triple H, Roman Reigns at the end. And I couldn't remember anything about it because I was so tired. I had to go back and watch it a couple of days later.
I think I'd watched that match. Or have I just seen pictures? I honestly can't remember now.
I was like that. That's exactly. I was like, I'm sure I watched it. I need to watch it again to make sure.
But I'm trying to remember if it's one of the matches that has had so much bad publicity because it was during the Roman Reigns years.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did I go back or did I not bother? What do you think of Roman now?
I think he's the best thing in wrestling right now.
Okay, so we've been going about 45 minutes and I want to be respectful of your time. So I will wrap this up with a few quick fire questions.
Fire away.
Favorite pay-per-view of all time? Overall pay-per-view.
Oh, wow.
Is that hard?
That's a great question. No, I think it's a great question. I'll throw out immediately WrestleMania 19.
My favorite Mania, funny enough.
I think it's a really good Mania. I would also put Mania 31 in the conversation.
I agree with that.
Now
what is your fault? Because, like myself, you didn't grow up watching Mania X7 or 17.
Mm-hmm.
Is it as good as everyone says? Because I think it's amazing, but rose-tinted glasses play a factor in it.
For Mania 17?
Yeah.
I went back and watched it during the second lockdown because I'd seen like bits of it before. I'd never bothered to sit down and watch the whole thing. I think my personal opinion is it's really hard to gauge your own personal genuine reaction to something after the fact. But for what it was, I really enjoyed it. Is it my personal favorite Mania? No, but I can see why other people.
I think I would agree with that concept. Like, I really enjoy it, but it's not my personal favorite because, as seems to be a common theme with this interview, it's not a Mania that I was emotionally invested in.
Exactly, 100%, 100%.
So, did I ask you favorite superstar of all time? If I did, I apologize.
Yes, I said Shawn Michaels, which I know. Oh, yeah. I know a lot of people are like Shawn or Brett. I understand. For me, it was Shawn. I think Brett was better technically, but I preferred Shawn.
Again, because you saw him wrestle, not live, but because you saw him wrestle when you were a wrestling fan, not go back and watch it.
Absolutely.
Exactly. I would agree with that 100%. I'm the same. Most underrated match, in your opinion?
Ooh. That's a really tough one. I might need to think on that a minute. Let me have a little think on that. Let's go to the next question, and I'll
ask you another question then.
Yeah.
Okay. The wrestling show that, because I know you said you struggle to watch wrestling because it's now part of your work, that you, no matter what happens, will have to check out every week, even if that's via clips.
I always watch Smackdown every week at the moment, and Smackdown. To be fair, Smackdown was always my show growing up, so I think there's something to do with that.
Were you part of the SmackDown 6 era?
Yeah, I caught the back end of that, and then going into 2003. So SmackDown was always kind of like the show that I watched growing up. So I think there's an element of that.
Yeah, I get it. What about outside of WWE wrestling? What do you think is the best wrestling?
I think the best consistent product right now is AEW.
AEW shield you.
But this is where I upset people because I say I'm not actually one of the people that watches AEW on a weekly basis. And the reason for that, Tom, is not because I have any sort of anti-AEW bias. It's simply
because time.
Time's a big element of it. And it's actually because I grew up as a WWE fan, coming into work for a company where, you need to report on more than WWE. We've got other people in our business in Cultaholic that know much more about AEW than me. And I'm better off investing my time and knowledge into brands that other people don't perhaps watch.
No, I get that.
So
yeah. Sorry, continue.
So I'm more likely, Tom, to watch Impact on a Friday morning than I am to watch AEW, just because perhaps not as many people in our team are. So it's just making sure across.
Impact's very underrated right now.
I'm really enjoying it. I thought Slammiversary was excellent.
I haven't seen Slammiversary. Have they got a crowd back in it?
They did for Slammiversary.
Are they still?
They haven't in the not in the first episode since Slammiversary. I haven't caught up with this week's yet.
Fair enough. Because I don't know if you found this with the lockdown, but I really struggled to invest in wrestling without a crowd.
I didn't realize how hard it was until the crowds came back.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't realize it's like you don't miss something until it's gone.
No, exactly.
Like, I think that's why I have a new appreciation for Rock Hogan.
Oh yeah, okay, I can see what you mean. Yeah,
because the crowd are so hyped the entire time. So, final couple of questions. What most proud moment since joining Cultaholic?
Oh wow.
That was from Stephen Scodes, by the way.
Oh, what a lovely guy. Hi, Stephen. Thank you for the question.
You were kind enough to retweet what I put up.
I tried.
So
yeah.
I'm
glad he was able to get a question. And then my proudest moment. I mean, apart from just joining the team and being involved, I think we've had some really. I don't want to get boring and businessy, but we've had some good months in the time that I've been at Cultaholic in terms from a business standpoint, which I'm really proud of.
Going back to what we were saying earlier, you being employed to do the website, whereas splitting it between Ross doing videos, but also doing the website, because Absolutely. You can focus 100% of your effort, it's only going to grow.
Well, that's the hope. That is certainly the hope, mate.
Yeah. So I think that's a beautiful way to end it, actually.
Oh, that's very kind. This has been a lot of fun, mate. I've really enjoyed it.
I want to say thank you for doing this. And the question that I always end on, it's the most cliche question ever. Where do you see either Cultaholic in 5 years or yourself in 5 years?
In terms of myself, I don't tend to plan that far ahead.
I
take things a lot more on a whim. But I'm certainly enjoying where I am right now, and hopefully still working in Cultaholic or in sport in some capacity, if not for Cultaholic. Although certainly got no reason for that to end. I just see Cultaholic going from strength to strength, as we said earlier, because
so do I.
The guys do such a good job on it, and they're so passionate about it, and they work so hard that everyone that is there deserves it too.
Again, I can't agree with you more. So I want to say thank you for coming on, Mitch.
Thank you for having me, Tom. It's been great fun.
If you guys like this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.